Alright, I know this is super late. Blame Jeff Keighley for scheduling the Game Awards right before I had to go out of town. But on the bright side, this means I have more time to pore over every frame, so here's the best possible analysis I could give. Okay, I haven't mentioned this on my channel yet, but I am a Supergiant fan of Supergiant games, and an even more Supergiant fan of their latest masterpiece, Hades. I've logged hundreds of hours into it on both PC and Switch, listened to the soundtrack for far longer, and done things I'm not proud of when faced with Zagreus and his flawless fit. So when Hades 2 was announced, you better believe I screamed hard enough to shatter not only every window in a 30-mile radius, but peel paint from walls and flesh from bone. However, that wasn't the end of it. As an avid fan of Rick Riordan and everything Percy Jackson related, the following 2 minutes had me frothing at the mouth as my nervous system overloaded with "I recognize that thing" chemicals. So for the sake of my dwindling mental facilities, let's go through and point out everything responsible for the natural disaster that was my reaction. Not 5 seconds in and we already have Supergiant's insanely appealing high FPS texture work. For what functionally serves as nothing more than a fancy fade effect, I'm astounded they managed to make it look that good. Nothing much to say about the jaw-dropping animated fight scene, other than I suspect Hidetaka Miyazaki contributed in some way because it forced me to double-check if the first game had this many bare feet in it. Should've worn spell-proof boots, lass who looks suspiciously like Zagreus. The other lady in this scene feels handcrafted to fill Lady Dimitrescu's vacant throne. Not only does she have a dominating presence, a sultry smooth voice, and razor-sharp nails.
Good.
They went with the full witch's robe design. All of the mystery of Dimitrescu's dress, none of the stuffiness. The potential stuffiness is also alleviated by the quite frankly genius decision to include a midriff with abs. Supergiant certainly knows how to get eyes on their game. The brand only strengthens when the closing lines all but confirm death to Kronos is the new Blood and Darkness.
Death to Kronos.
Death to Kronos.
Afterwards we get some gameplay, and I'll keep the section short because the basic stuff looks like more Hades. Boons, attack, dashing, the works. We are treated to 2 new weapons though. The first, Dagger and Sickle, was so close to being based, but I guess a dagger is a more fitting weapon than a hammer. Its gameplay looks relatively standard, which I can't say for the other weapon, which I'll call Hecate's Staff. From the few shots featuring it, we see some freaky AoE attacks featuring the rune design we saw Hecate use. Side note, but I'm quite interested in the weapon variety we could see in the sequel. The first game had variety to spare, but the base concepts were all relatively standard weapons of war. Sword, spear, shield, bow, the standouts being gauntlets and an automatic rifle. Ignoring the dagger, the sickle and staff are a clear deviation from the tried and true concepts you'd see in most action games. While Supergiant has always used lessons learned from their previous titles to fully realize their next project, going for a direct sequel seems to have supercharged their creativity in how they're building this from a rock-solid foundation. What I'm trying to say is I can't wait to tear through the underworld with weapons like a magical paintbrush or combat boots with a breakdancing special move. Tried and true has had its day, now is the time for weird and wacky. The last gameplay bit I have anything to say about is the list of boons from Apollo we get a quick glimpse of. Nova Strike is a clear callback to the Stygian Blade special attack in Hades 1, the Nova Smash, which makes sense considering the boon increases AoE size. Blinding Sprint references a new status effect called Daze, and something about a sprint which might just be the new name for the dash, but I can't say for sure. The last one is far more interesting, despite being of lower rarity. Clarifying Light. While standing in your casts, gradually restore magic. On its own, this is a pretty standard buff, but not only does it imply the existence of a more traditional mana bar rather than the bloodstones from before, it looks like the spell system will be all about persistent AoE effects, probably similar to the Hallowed Ground effect from Hades 1. Now that that's over with, we can finally get to the part I'm most excited about, lore and mythology. In some screenshots and a blog post created by Supergiant, we see the protagonist this time is one Melinoe. Similar to Zagreus, this character is originally from Greek myth, but doesn't have a lot of concrete lore surrounding them, allowing the Supergiant team to fill in the gaps. However, a quick glance at her Wikipedia page reveals they're absolutely drawing on her connection to the moon and magic, similar to her mentor, Hecate, the ab lady from earlier. Crescent moon imagery is all over this trailer, which could be because of Hecate and Melione's aforementioned connection to the moon, but seen as it's all crescents, it could just as easily be interpreted as Kronos' symbol, the sickle, representing the passage of time as a more general version of Thanatos' scythe. As Thanatos reaps souls, Kronos reaps every product of time, including the sky's balls. Yes, that's real, look it up. The thematic mirroring is everywhere, and I can't wait for more. There's also a reoccurring usage of Hecate's Wheel, this corn maze looking thing we see on the armor of Milanoe and Nemesis, on some portals, and used as carpeting pretty much everywhere in the forest. Oddly enough, it's not seen in any of Milanoe's rune circles, although it is in Hecate's final blow of the animated segment, overlain with the Sigil of the Dead. Another symbol we see all over, and you already know the meaning of. It's also not seen on Hecate herself, though to be fair we don't see much of Hecate at all, she is only showing some skin where it matters. Wait, never mind, it might actually be on her hat? But the in-game model also shows the symbol on her waist, which isn't in the fight or the splash art at the end. Whatever, I guess it would have overcomplicated the design, which is a problem when you're animating each frame individually, and she's clearly not the focus of the splash art. Some of the individual gods we see later include Moros, god of doom, but sometimes described as a more general god of fate or destiny. I expect this antlered elf to be quite the tsundere. We finally get Apollo, one of the original Olympians, who would have been in the first game but was cut. Small detail, but I love this guy's harp bow. It's not a new concept, but it's a great way of tying together Apollo's affinities for archery and music. He also mentions lighting your way down, implying Milanoe's quest will be the opposite of Zagreus's, breaking into hell. The next one requires a bit of mental gymnastics, but it's likely Dora is actually Pandora. Not just because the names are similar, but the box in the corner has quite a few books stacked on top of it, suggesting it holds something quite unpleasant. Granted, the original myth has all the evils of the world contained in a jar or pithos, but Supergiant's not above messing with the source material in order to make a better story or make it more digestible to a modern audience. And somehow I doubt people would respond to Pandora's pithos as strongly as Pandora's box. Nemesis, goddess of revenge and retribution, is looking absolutely incredible. Most of her is covered in lavish armor, with the exception of the lower arm and thigh, revealing her to be fucking jacked. She even has the Stygian Blades aspect of Nemesis from the first game. Fucking step on me! Where was I? So in case it wasn't already clear, this trailer showed off a fantastic slice of the game. Great characters, cool weapons, gorgeous environments, fantastic music, trading the original's signature baglama for more synthy stuff, and a traditional piano without abandoning the ghostly howls. This is all I'm going to think about for the next year. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go find more fan art of Nemesis. For research.